Does anybody have plans for doing it?
We had talked about it, Joel. What,
So we did talk about it. Council, you recall, you would like to do some kind of dinner. You were hoping to do a dinner later in the year. I would say two things affected that. One, other projects and priorities just, took up time. The other thing that affected it in the back of my mind is just with the rise of COVID cases in Allegan County, I don't know how effective we would be in bringing, 50 to 75 volunteers into the basement of the Griswold. We've already canceled our employee appreciation lunch due to this. We're just doing it the department once, taking that into consideration. I would offer that it might be wise during our strategic planning session in the early part of January to walk through how we really would like to see that formatted. Because like as Teresa mentioned, we did talk about it a little bit, but it really wasn't like solidified as, this is how we want to do this. Right. Is it a +1? Is it a dinner? Is it drinks?
Yeah, and I understand those concerns, and that was one idea for joint appreciation, but I didn't know if there were any other ways that historically we've done that, or if
Historically, in my 5 years here,
not necessarily historically we've done a dinner, but just have we shown appreciation for folks on committees that?
In my time here, the answer would be no, and I have not been told that there's a past practice that occurred.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, Mike, you were on council before, back in the early,
I believe back at some point there was a retiree and appreciation luncheon.
For employees, but for volunteers, like members of the planning commission, when their term,
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was
Okay.
open to everybody, but there was just the retirees, I do remember, and that.
yeah. So my recommendation is just for council, we probably should talk about this more openly and come to a better consensus amongst the council members on how they would like to show that appreciation. I mean, the historic district had 4 out of 7 show up at the last meeting. If the minutes are correct in the attendance, I was not there. And we struggle sometimes with other committees getting a full quorum.
Wait, does that mean we shouldn't show?
No. I think it means we need to show, we need to praise more somehow.
Sure.
Yeah, we need to,
Okay.
for the, the flames.
I mean, maybe even like a thank you note or something
Yeah.
this year could be simple and easy.
Yep, and we have thank you cards. We have City of Allegan thank you cards. That's something that staff can, we can tackle that, the 3 of us here.
Okay.
That's something we can easily do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
yeah, no,
Ahead of it
that,
here.
No.
yeah, I think that would be fine.
Yep,
Yeah.
And maybe eventually, we can do more, but for now as a start, until we get some type of plan maybe, I think that would be a good idea.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll get something out before the end of the year.
Okay.
We have the addresses, so that, like I said, the 3 of us here will be able to pull that off.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Good,
Thanks for bringing it up.
okay, thanks. Anything else for roundtable discussion? Mike, did you have anything?
I did. The last meeting, there were some funds, and community mental health was brought up as one of them. And I'd heard that they had bought the old Shopko building, but I believe in what they had sent, there was pictures of something out at the service center. So I wasn't sure, are they thinking of coming here, or are they staying out there, or what is your knowledge of this?
So it is just my knowledge. I want to, frame the conversation there. I'm not part of the CMH board. They are, from what I understand, they have now fully purchased the Shopko building. They have secured, I think there's a press release right before I left on my vacation. There's a press release where they've secured the funding for that project to move forward. And it's their intent to move all of their operations to the Shopko building. And so what you saw in your packet was a floor plan of what the Shopko building would look like with the
Okay.
new CMH offices in there. And this is, I mean, Mark Woody, the CMH I believe his title is Executive Director. He met with me at the very beginning of their planning process, saying, Shopko's announced their closing. We've identified it as an opportunity. I made a side comment that it's a shame to see a tax-paying parcel go to a non-tax-paying parcel. At the same time, being located next to the hospital, I hope they can build a stronger relationship and we can create like a pseudo health village down there where it benefits the whole, community. I mean, there's some positives, in them locating in that location, but that's what I know. They're moving forward. And I will share with council, as we discussed at the last meeting, the funding is the ARP funding, the American Rescue Plan funding. I'm of the mindset we can use all of that money for the many, many needs the city of Allegan has. And I feel we need to put that funding to our local needs. It's $526,000, which is a lot, or $524,000, which is a lot of money. We have many, much more need than $500,000. So we can use it well within our corporate limits and within our corporate body. But again, that's going to be a conversation that council is going to have to continue to have. It's a council decision. And that's why we started it at the last meeting.
And that'll come up, Joel, when we start talking about where we want to allocate these funds to, with the ARPA
Correct.
funds too, right?
Yep.
So that'll be more discussion down the road when
Yeah, because
talk about.
in addition to CMH, I want to be clear, we also had a request from Safe Harbor for their building project, and we also had a communication through text and voice or phone calls with the Allegan Fire District, which us and the township help fund. They would like to outfit the fire stations for some female locker rooms.
Okay. Peter, did you have anything that you wanted to bring up for roundtable?
Not tonight.
Okay. Bill, how about you? Okay. I don't think I have anything either, so, staff, did you want to add anything to anything?
Just
At
very
this time?
quickly, we have a PAC study session, so it's good that we're going to be able to jump right into the study session. And I don't know if you've discussed it, but obviously Delora is out and Roger Bird is out, so we will need their absence is excused during the regular meeting if you so choose to move forward that way.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Okay, we'll go on to the next item then. It's the presentation from MDOT and discussion about the M89 and Hubbard Street alignment. Joel, you gonna?
Yeah, I would do
kick
my
it off?
best to kick this off. So, as council knows, over the past few months, past year, we've been talking with MDOT as they've been preparing to resurface M89 through the city and the city's past 15, 20-year vision to line up Hubbard Street so it becomes the main gateway into our downtown. As council is well aware, we've had a couple of discussions at the council level that, there's two ways for us to go this way. One is a realignment with your conventional or historically traditional four-way intersection. We have some inherent design issues at that level. The other way is a roundabout. We have representatives from MDOT here this evening. They really would like to spend some time going through these options, talking to council. We're hoping there'll be a dialogue amongst council members with representatives from MDOT. We're very thankful that the representatives from MDOT took their time to come and present these options to council. I mean, I was quite impressed. That meeting all happened when I was in Poland, and I was just seeing emails go back and forth, and I was like, good, excellent. So without that, Tom, are you going to start the discussion, or?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to.
We do ask you guys to come to the podium and speak into the mic since we do record our meetings, and then you can tell us to flip back and forth through the 3 slides you provided.
Yeah, no problem. And we can stay right here, I guess, on that first graphic of the traditional intersection. But yeah, I guess I'd just like to, thank you all for the opportunity to, just discuss, the alternative analysis that we've been going through in partnership, with the city and, their design team. over the past couple years. I know, as Joel mentioned, I guess this concept, I think dates back as far as maybe 2001, some sort of access management study along this corridor. And it wasn't until, the last couple years that we were preparing, for the design of our resurfacing project that stretches from, I guess, Monroe Street or M222 on the north side, I guess, and we'll be going all the way down to 29th Street at the, I guess, south or east end, that we, started more of this dialogue regarding, how this would look and how it would operate. And I'll let Nathan, who's here with us, our traffic and safety engineer, dig into more of those details. But there were some concerns, with that concept due to the proximity of Ely Street and, maintaining, all the access to that. So, we appreciate the opportunity, and I'll let Nathan touch on some of the operational and safety, I guess, pros and cons to each alternative.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm Nathan Schilling. I work for MDOT in the Grand Rapids TSC, and I'm here to share about some of the processes and things that we went through. So our original project was resurfacing, so that would not change any of the geometry on the roadway. It would just be putting a new driving course on there. As we went through that design process, it's a good opportunity to partner with local partners, with the city of Allegan, to help address MDOT needs and to help address the city's needs. So part of that was discussing with the city of Allegan their plans, and one of the plans that we heard from Joel was this desire to change the alignment of Hubbard and tie it into the Jenner intersection. So through that process, we went through multiple iterations of looking at what that would look like and the needs to have functional traffic and not cause excessive delays or failures on the road system. So that would involve looking at right and left turn lanes that were needed. As you can see on the graphic, this was the best concept that we could come up with for realigning Hubbard into the Jenner intersection. On the, what would that be, cedar leg coming in there, that's a substantial portion where there's more lanes that would be there than our existing. That's 5 lanes across there. So that was a significant widening. That would be one of the bigger costs of the project. The other legs functioned well with 2 approach lanes. As we went through and looked at this, we look at 2 things. We look at how this intersection would operate in the present day in 2021, and then we look at a horizon of 20 years out, so in 2041. So we want to make sure that designs would function well today and also well into the future. As we looked at this one of the big issues is the way that this intersection interacts with Ely Street. There's 2 difficult movements that cause issues. If you are going westbound on Marshall Street or Cedar Street and need to turn left onto Ely Street, that is an issue, or that's one of the issues. And then the other major issue with this one is if you are northbound on Ely Street and want to turn left onto Cedar Street, that movement is a difficult one to make where you would have a difficult time finding gaps. So those are the 2 major issues with that concept. As we talked with Joel and worked through these issues, the alternative, or an alternative came up, and that was the roundabout. So we worked with the city, and the city looked into how a roundabout would operate at this intersection. So you could show the other graphic there. So this is a roundabout concept that we came up with. The roundabout we also looked at in the 2021 and 2041 performance. Overall, the roundabout functions well. We look at your typical peak hour traffic. So your typical peak hour, the roundabout in 2021 and 2041 functions well. There's no operational issues, no excessive backups. We talk about a level of service. It provides a good level of service to the motoring public. In the future year, in 2041, there would be minimal amounts of time where there would be operational concerns. So your very busiest few days of the year in 2041, we expect that there would be some longer delays in this intersection. But that would be an acceptable level to us. It would perform well. So we looked at these two options. We think the roundabout functions well, would function well, both now and in the future. Looking at the previous concept, those left turns that I discussed are an operational concern, and it would make MDOT not want to pursue that option farther. Beyond some of those operational things, roundabouts are a good safety feature, particularly in reducing fatal and serious injury crashes. Installing a roundabout, on average, you expect 70 to 80% reduction in fatal and injury crashes, and you also expect about a 50% reduction in just typical or non-severe crashes. Beyond that, there's cost benefits. There's cost benefits or costs to maintaining a signal. Installing a roundabout, you don't have those long-term costs of electricity at a signalized intersection and maintaining those signals and traffic controller equipment. I think that covers, one more thing on the crashes. So there's, I would say, an average to slightly above average amount of crashes in this area right now. In the last 5 years, there has not been a fatality or serious injury that I know of in this intersection. So there isn't a trend or a pattern currently of fatal or serious injury crashes. But it would be about average for what you might expect for crashes in a segment like this. So I'm happy to answer any questions or explain anything farther if I...
Yeah, your studies, they depict this layout and then you do your calculations, but I'm guessing it's about a football field away is a stoplight. So if they're stopped and backed up, how does the roundabout keep flowing?
You're talking at Cutler Street, further to the north on M40?
Yes.
So we looked at analysis for these two intersections. We did not analyze farther to the north. So there could be operational issues still to work through farther to the north at other intersections.
Because just the other day, that was backed up, not all the way to the intersection, but it was backed up waiting for the light to go. A lot of trucks or something, I don't know. But you definitely need to look at the whole picture and not just what a intersection flows, because we sure don't want to have something that's moving good and then it just stops. That would cause a big problem.
Right.
And right now is not even a busy time for us.
Yep. You definitely, you can address operational things as pieces come together, but it's kind of when something that both the city of Allegan and MDOT need to work through is aligning funding with what we can do. And so doing things that are within budgets and able to happen is important. And so while there might be other operational issues to the north, that might be something that we need to look at in future years as funding allows.
I had a similar question because you're never going to be able to do a back-to-back roundabout between North Cedar at the bottom of the water tower and this. So I feel like if you're getting the traffic flow through the circle, it's just going to back up at that next light because that's just a light-controlled intersection, and currently, at least, we can control the lights and time them. The other concern I have is we have quite a few oversized loads that come through here, mobile homes, boats, et cetera, and that is, if this is sized properly to accept that with minimal damage to the curbing and hopping over curbs and other things to get through it. The other one is, of course, on Ely Street, we could just remove the left-hand turns. It would be similar to, of course, Love Truck Stop, which I'm assuming MDOT had control over that access, and which is atrocious. It's the worst setup I've ever seen in that area. I'm just like, this has got to get changed to a one-way street or something coming in, because people come out and take a left even though they're only allowed a right. And so I have no major issue with the circle other than backing up. How is the traffic going to flow through? Are the trucks going to get through? Because this is a major truck route. I live right on the street. I know, hear them come down every night. Is it going to have issues with the tandems and where they're located and truck turning radiuses to make sure we're not just having issues and then the backup at the next corner? And I find it kind of not great if you didn't look at what would happen at the next intersection by what the traffic flow would change to. That's just kind of like saying, well, that's down the road. It's creating another possible future problem, and we really need to understand, is it going to be a problem or is it not going to be a problem?
Right. So part of us being here tonight is getting feedback from you and making sure we're moving in directions that both MDOT want to move in and the city want to move in. So we can spend dollars on modeling and figuring out what things work well and not well, but you could do that at every intersection all over the place and spend a ton of money doing that. And so we want to make sure we're looking at things that the city is interested in and that MDOT is interested in, and that we can have a shared vision moving forward in. So if there's things that we want to look at there or look at here,
I think this
we need to
might have been
partner
even
together
brought
in
up
that.
in the past because this circle's been brought up for 5 years or better, because it was well before I was on council this was first brought up.
Right.
And I'm sure that that question's been asked in the past, and it's kind of ridiculous to think that we haven't looked at that next intersection at this point to understand if we change the flow, how's that going to affect that light-controlled intersection?
Yep.
And making sure that we look at what type of loads are coming through here, because I know there's lots of oversized loads, lots of modular homes, and I'm just concerned, is it just going to cause issues at the intersection? I like the Ely coming in to the circle because it'll eliminate, because Ely already is a major headache as it is. But I don't know if it's the cost and not knowing what other problems we might create with it is one of the concerns.
Yep. Thank you. Did you want to say something, Thomas?
Yeah, if I can, I guess, add, I guess, a couple items to those comments. I mean, as Nathan mentioned, you know, we are, you know, here today to focus, you know, on, I guess, this intersection, just based on the desire, you know, to connect Hubbard Street, make that a two-way movement. That's how this kind of all got started. I had seen some preliminary concepts that were brought forward of a circle, I guess as early as, I think September is kind of when we started kicking them around. We were not involved in any of the discussions, I guess, previously of.
So it is MDOT, because I remember MDOT came and did a presentation on putting a circle there. It was over at the Griswold, so before this time.
Okay.
Because I went to the meeting and I was like, okay, let's talk about this circle, because it was the beginning of probably the realignment discussion in earnest, where I think we had just, were about to tear down the houses.
Okay. I mean, it very well could be. The department as a whole, MDOT, went through a reorganization. Our Grand Rapids office, which is where we are based from, I guess I'm going to say, took over Allegan County, if you will, in 2015. So I don't know exactly where in that timeline this fits. Maybe that was our Kalamazoo office, and we can look back. I'm familiar with the access management plan from 2001 for this corridor, but So that's why the analysis to this point has been finite on the intersection you see at the screen. I guess, and to the point as far as the super loads, I think it says 70 feet. My eyes are not that good. It's a very large, I guess, diameter circle, and that kind of mountable curb in the middle is laid out and would be designed to accommodate, all the vehicles that you can, I guess, are permitted on our roads. So I mean, yes, it would bring the roundabout to a slower level of service for those moments that they need to get through, and if they have escorts, they might take up the whole circle to, I guess, mount it and get through, but they can maneuver through something like that. And we do have additional information that Abin Marsh has put together that shows what we consider a large commercial vehicle using turning templates to navigate each one of those legs and how that would operate. So, and I guess, yeah, the only other thing I was going to mention, and I should have, I guess, shared in the introduction, is, we've, I guess, been discussing these concepts since, I think, as early as January 2020 as it pertains to trying to partner and complete one project, the resurfacing and any intersection improvements in this area, at one time to minimize, I guess, the costs for both parties and the impacts, to the motorists and residents. And, it's been a great dialogue to date. We've looked at, numerous alternatives of each one of these options. And we're just looking for concurrence, I guess, from the city on a direction to move forward so we can invest, those additional design dollars to dig into, I guess, the operational concerns to the north. I mean, we are limited to a certain extent. I know you threw out another roundabout as I know, but I mean, there are things we can do to try to review signal timing, and we would certainly, address those and make those changes. But yeah, that, I guess, little jog, of the trunk line system through those tight city streets is, I guess, difficult and would not be eliminated. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add those couple things. And I guess I probably failed to mention too, currently our project today, we would try to wrap up design a year from now and build it in the 2023 construction season. Given the, I guess, significant investment some of these changes would be at this intersection, we think it would be better to, I guess, delay that 1 year further. So 2023, we would wrap up design and then target building something like this on the screen in 2024. So that's kind of our timeframes that we're looking at, and I guess why we're here today, to get your thoughts on, a preferred option to help us, move forward.
Thomas, if we didn't go with the rounder, would the time frame still be expanded out then? Extended out?
I guess, no, I guess in that sense. I mean, if MDOT held its project today, we would come through and resurface, upgrade the sidewalk ramps, a few other, drainage issues throughout that corridor, but that we'd probably, I guess, keep the project in 2023 construction.
But we could still do the realignment
Well, I guess,
without a rounder.
I guess the concern, and I guess Nathan, I think, mentioned it briefly, I guess the department, because of those, I guess we call it left turn lockup, those concerns with both the lefts off of Ely and the lefts onto Ely, I guess the department isn't in a position to, I guess, support and fund that option because of the operational, I guess, constraints it puts us in the future. Because, we go out and do that, there's really not much you can do to expand that or improve that. I mean, you can't fit another signal into Ely. We're kind of boxed in.
Okay.
So that was kind of the most recent discussion that was had while Joel was out, because we've been studying, as each one of these alternatives, how that operates. And there's not room to operate that if there's one truck that sits there trying to make that left, or I think we estimated 3 cars, that's all you could fit in that limited storage space. So there's just,
Which is what we have now. I mean, is
I don't think that's a truck route is the only major.
for Ely Street,
Well,
isn't,
okay,
right?
no, but I mean, I don't know. I've
You
heard-
normally probably cut across on Thomas if you're going up there to the nursing home or anything
I'd
else.
heard there's some
Yeah,
potential
we
development
get-
for a school. I don't know.
And we do get phone calls about trucks driving on Ely often. I mean, trucks can make deliveries.
Yeah,
Right.
So if it's a moving van, they're allowed to go to their point of destination.
So are we saying that this is not really an option then?
Well, I mean, we've, I guess, evaluated up to this point. I guess we're in a position now, knowing what we have learned, to, I guess, not support this option further. I mean, we understand and, I guess, appreciate the city's, desire to make that Hubbard Street connection. We're just concerned that it's not really viable while maintaining Ely Street.
Okay, okay. I thought it was an either or, okay.
No, sorry.
so we would
No,
keep
that's
the
okay.
intersection as is, where Hubbard Street has even more issues with it, rather than realign? If we don't want to do the circle and invest, you're saying that MDOT won't pursue that, and we'll just say we have to keep Hubbard where it is?
Well, I guess I think there would be difficulty, I guess, making Hubbard Street a two-way in its current. I mean, the whole goal or benefit of moving it
Well,
was.
that's what I'm saying, is if we wanted to realign Hubbard, you're saying the only option that we have is a circle. Is that MDOT's position, or is it, we can align it like this and still have Ely issues,
Right,
or?
that's what I was asking, yes.
So this is Nathan Schilling again. We've evaluated this concept. Pete, what do
Peter,
you
yep.
go by? Peter?
Yep.
You mentioned, the Ely Street, the left turns, and you talked about restricting left turns in and out of there. In our conversations that we've had with the city so far, our understanding was that Ely Street, the city wanted Ely Street to remain full access, that you could make left turns in and out of there. So we did not look at any studies of restricting those movements. That could be something that would make this concept that's up there operate better. And so if we looked at that and that operated fine, then this could be something that we consider again. But right now, this was the best concept that we got with working with the city, and it doesn't operate well, and so we don't support this one.
Okay, because I've looked back, like 2010, there was a walkability survey that was done and design concept of a double circle. Circle there and a circle at Hubbard Street. It was a double circle. I don't know how it ever worked, but that's how long that this circle thing has been being talked about, is
Yeah,
10,
the
15 years.
walkability survey you're referring to, yeah, the city has
And then it went from that to
toyed,
realign.
the city has toyed with a roundabout here, the city internally has. The problem is when you have planners toying around with ideas, they just have colored pencils and
I know. when
maybe
it-
a scale, and it's, I mean, that's what I did for 15 years.
Yep.
They're ideas, but you gotta flush it out in an engineer's, viewpoint, and that's what we're doing now for the first time.
I think it was actually done prior, because I remember at that meeting them plushing it out, and it was MDOT presenting the circle idea. It wasn't the
Yeah.
walkability, it was the realignment. So I'm kind of disappointed that our state government is ineffective on maintaining their plans between office transitions, that we lose all that knowledge, and then we start over again and say, we're just starting again.
I want to hear from Dave and Bill on this side of the table, but I just want to be very clear, I want to make sure we understand what I just heard. If we made Ely right, only and left and, or, right only the whole way.
Right out in.
Yeah,
Yep.
and, then we could run that through the Rodello model or whatever that term is again, real quick. Because we are also on a time crunch. We need to let MDOT know what we really want to, what direction we want to go here. Because we can't keep continuing to kick this can down the road and us paying Abendmarsh to do another quick, not quick, but another, CAD, adjustment, and MDOT take the time to also evaluate that CAD adjustment. That's something that's somewhat new to me a little bit. I'll be, I'm the one that's telling MDOT my limited knowledge of the community of 5 years. Ely's too important of a major arterial street locally to close off. It serves an entire neighborhood, but a right out and right in still makes that road useful. I wouldn't ever want to cul-de-sac it off because people use that to come into the city. So if that's something that we can do and still meet MDOT's timeline, we should probably go through that process. I just want to make sure we're clear on that, but I do want to hear from the other side of the table. I think it would be helpful for MDOT to hear if they have stuff to say.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, first of all, thanks for coming down. I mean, it speaks to your level of concern about the diagram we were looking at initially, and I appreciate that you guys are willing to come down and talk to us about it. I've heard, we had public comment at the last meeting, and somebody else brought up the issue of oversized loads, and it sounds like you guys have done an assessment on that. I'm sure you have other roundabouts where large loads come through. Is there any documentation you can get to us that'll help council sort of assess that issue and help assure council members that, you know, that's taken into consideration?
Right, so MDOT has other roundabouts that we operate. We can share information about oversized loads going through there. I'm one of the reviewers for some of the oversized loads that go through this area. So I see that those loads come through. What was I gonna say?
I was asking if
Yeah.
there's any documentation or diagrams or.
Yeah. I guess the other thing I was gonna say is, so like in our oversized load process, they evaluate different routes. We have construction on routes. And so while, this might be a shorter route, the other thing that can happen is there's alternative routes that loads can take. And so, if, like, MDOT has those concerns too, and so just because the city, wants those, like, we'd be considering that too as we work through this, making sure, like, we're trying to serve the state as a whole and provide economic opportunities for everyone, and so oversized loads are a concern for us as well. And so we think the roundabout would work, and still the state network of trunk line roads would serve those oversized loads. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I would just add, I mean, we can certainly follow up with some turning template, I guess, graphics that show, I guess, different vehicle sizes traversing something like this. Abin Marsh has already prepared some of that information. And there are also, I know there's YouTube videos out there that show, I guess, those larger loads. I don't know what you guys see, windmills, whatever it is, you know, with the separate trailers, they would be able to traverse that. I mean, there might not be, in the middle there, they might have to mount or go through that, and that's what that, I guess, inner radius is. That's kind of a mountable curb, so they can, I guess, work that whole area. But yeah, that would be definitely a consideration that would be addressed, you know, in design, and I'm confident that they would be able to accommodate
Okay,
the loads out there.
yeah, okay.
We can follow up with Joel and Doug to get you the information we have.
Yeah, and again, what I'm hoping for is just a way that we can sort of put that risk at ease for folks.
Sure.
And settle that part of the discussion.
Yeah, no, it's very common at, you know, roundabouts when they enter the community for the first time.
Sure. Another topic that we discussed was pedestrian safety for traffic circles. It almost looks like you've got some pedestrian paths already laid out in this design. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit?
Sure, and I will, I guess, have Nathan correct me. But yes, you do see, I think that was I guess, pedestrian access. Mobility was discussed and brought forward from the city. And I guess we believe that we have shown, I guess, pedestrian access, sidewalks, throughout, I guess, every movement you could need to make, I guess, around this intersection with a roundabout. And I guess the safety, design features and benefits of the roundabout is the shorter crossing distances. You know, each one of those legs, you see the splitter islands, so that creates a refuge, you know, in between each leg, you know, for folks to cross. So they're only worried about that, you know, 16, 20 feet at a time. So that's kind of the design. And obviously roundabout traffic is slowing down and yielding as they enter. And you know, you're looking for pedestrians. Obviously, those would be signed or striped crosswalks. That's kind of hard to depict at this level, but you would see that too enhanced, you know, at an intersection like this.
In general, with your experience with traffic circles, do you see increased issues with pedestrian safety, or do they seem safer, more dangerous? Is there any change? Or is that not something you could speak to?
I was going to say it's probably subjective to the user, but I'll let Nathan speak.
I don't know that I have much to say on the roundabouts. Looking at this one, on Jenner, the south leg coming in there, there's a sidewalk that goes across right now, across Jenner, south of the intersection. And with this design, we'd have room to run that sidewalk up, and they could have a safer crossing, I think. So on that south leg on M40, I think that's one of the bigger differences that I'd see making it better for pedestrians.
Okay. I think the only other thing I would say is I'd support looking at that design for Ely restricting the left turns. Can't think of any other questions right now, but thanks again for coming down.
Yep, thank you.
Again, thank you for coming down. The thin ones are where the pedestrians are, correct?
Right, those thinner gray.
Are there lights
yeah.
every there so those pedestrians can walk at their time, or do they gotta look both ways and run like heck?
Right, well, it wouldn't be both ways, you just have to look a single direction, but yes. You
So a man that maybe had both his knees replaced and can't run or move quickly isn't gonna be able to cross those things,
Well, you'd
which
be able
we have a lot of that.
You'd be able to look, but also, your, cars are required to yield to pedestrians crossing. So if you were there waiting, the cars would have to stop to allow you to cross.
I happen to live in an area where this so-called yield to pedestrians, I haven't seen one happen yet. Every night I come home, I see somebody almost get hit. And thanks to the MDOT, where they placed stoppage for drivers to come around, they just go around, they don't care. And so what are you gonna, I mean, I don't see any advantage to this roundabout. We have two things we have to do here, money and our, to the people of our community. And the walkability of this is not good.
Yeah, so in terms of pedestrians, I don't think it's a huge change that I think you provide a similar level to pedestrians now and in the future. Like I mentioned, I think that crossing on the M40 leg to the south on Jenner, that's a diagonal crossing. It makes it a long distance. There's no restricted access that vehicles need to slow down for that one. So that's a pedestrian crossing of concern for me. In terms of so that's in pedestrians that I think it would provide similar levels of service. There is that improvement on the south leg. For the roundabout, the improvements are for vehicles. That it provides good operation for vehicles and safety benefits for
Okay.
vehicles.
Any roundabout that I've ever seen is not safe for pedestrians. I have not seen one yet that is safe for a pedestrian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of your handle is being in a safety thing.
Right.
I don't know, Bill. I mean, I've crossed traffic circles before.
You seen the one in South Haven?
Yeah, I've seen that one. I've seen other bigger ones where there's trunk lines coming together and,
Okay.
I think there's something.
I'm only familiar with one in South Haven. I haven't seen anybody ever walk across that one.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've seen others where, I think as a pedestrian going through them, the big benefit is that you're only dealing with traffic flowing in one direction at a time. So you've got like, okay, I can pay attention to my left now, I can get to an island, then I can wait. Okay, now I can watch my right, and then I can get to another. But it is, I mean, it is a little subjective to the user. It can be off-putting when you first approach one, but
Well, the other option, like I said, is the cost.
what would make me feel best about the pedestrian issue is actually if there was any data that would show like traditional intersections compared to roundabouts, if there, because you'd mentioned there's data showing traffic improvements to safety, for cars, if there is any data for pedestrians, I think that would be helpful to see.
Right, I can look into that. I don't have that I could present tonight.
Sure.
On that topic, Dave, the UD10 reporting that all the police do, that's all publicly available. I think Michigan State has it. You can look up an intersection and look at all the traffic accidents of the past. So doing a study like that probably wouldn't be that involved in collecting the data. The data is already there, whether it's somebody actually evaluating an intersection that's had a change. And this intersection, the pedestrian, I would definitely have an issue with, this cut in there for coming down from the hospital side, coming down South Cedar and cutting across there. I'd feel much more comfortable if there was at least pedestrian activated flashing lights that would tell them yield to pedestrian. So if you're at that intersection, you can press it and it would kick on lights and kick on lights a little bit further ahead so that it warns the driver there's a pedestrian that wants to cross. Because otherwise it can become, that one's definitely hazardous because it's a blind corner, and where you're coming in like that down the hill, somebody could just be like, oh, I'm just gonna swing right on through here because I know I can swing it.
Yeah.
And so that would be the most concern. The others, I would still like to have some sort of flashing light at least to indicate that a pedestrian wants to cross and you're required to yield, because a lot of people don't. And maybe it would change some of the behavior so that people would do the yield like they're supposed to. I'd be much more comfortable with that.
That makes sense. You'd mentioned the timeline being that it's a 2023 project if it's traditional intersection, 2024 project if it's a traffic circle. Are you pretty confident with that 2024 estimate if we were to go in that direction?
Do you want to speak to that, Thomas?
Sure, and I guess to answer that question, at this time, yes. I think that would give us, 2 good years to dig into this design, deal with all the right-of-way, the environmental concerns, and, these levels of detail that you guys have all, brought forward here. Obviously, there'd be additional public outreach, when we were making a change like this. So I'm comfortable in the 2-year time frame, and that's what that was based on. Because we have spent, some time looking at this, over the last year. So, but yeah, I guess, yeah.
I guess one other question that did come up in earlier discussions was the ability to actually fit a traffic circle and the amount of land space we've got there before we start going up against cliffs and drop-offs and such. Does this design, is this to the point where we're confident we can fit a traffic circle in that area that's allowable, or is there more design before we're confident that this can actually fit?
I think we're confident we can make this fit here. We haven't dug into, I guess, the vertical profile yet of this roundabout, so certainly, our impacts are not perfectly defined, in all these quadrants and all these legs of the intersection. I don't think this graphic shows it very well, but I guess I'm going to say to the southeast, you have the park there, and I think it's the telecom building, whatever it is. Obviously, significant grade change there. I think we were estimating up to a 10-foot potentially retaining wall required, to accommodate, I guess, what would be the northbound traffic there. And those costs are included in, I guess, this preliminary estimate.
Okay, so that was going to be kind of my follow-up, was how confident we are on the estimate. I see that it's split between MDOT and the city. If price was to increase on this based off of that study of the vertical impact, is that something that MDOT starts to pick up, or how can we look at the difference in cost estimates for the city's perspective?
Sure. Yep. And I guess these preliminary estimates, I guess, are based off the best information we have available. We've only been looking at this, I guess, the picture on the screen, I think, for about a month. It took us a month to get to where we are today. And the estimate is split, I guess, 60-40, with 3 legs being trunk line and 2 legs being, I guess, local system. That's how that line was drawn.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess that's really all I have, I guess, on the estimate. It is preliminary. I guess there are no guarantees in this business, as you guys are, aware,
Sure.
it's a low bid, prices go up. And it's, we just have to work within, the budget we have to, design, make it fit. So it's difficult to project out,
Yeah. No, that makes
exact
sense.
costs.
That helps me put the estimate in perspective, and that's all fine, yeah. I think I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else? So I think we, thank you very much, Thomas and Nate, for coming and sharing your information. So we just need to have a discussion on whether we want to spend the money or not, basically, huh?
Yeah, so staff will continue our conversations with MDOT. We'll look at that Ely redesign of right in, right out kind of idea, see how that works and how that affects stuff. And then I think, this will be on one of your upcoming meetings for more discussion during the study session. I mean, it's a complex issue, so complex issues take time to discuss. Thank you guys for coming in.
Yes.
I think Doug is going to talk to you in the hallway afterwards about next steps.
Okay, moving on to the next item, it's the review of the fiscal year 2021 and the audit report. Tracy or Joel?
I will do the quick introduction. Dan Veldhuizen from Seafrig Crandall is our auditors. We handed off the hard copies in front of you today. Dan will be referencing some page numbers as he goes over some of the findings and makes you aware of where we are. This is, for your information during the study session.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for inviting me to your meeting. I always appreciate being able to come to a study session like this instead of spending just a few minutes at your regular meeting. It's also one of those nights where I'm glad I'm an accountant and not an engineer. So I actually have a lot of positive news for you, so I think you'll appreciate that. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Dan Veldhuizen. I'm a CPA with Siegfried Crandall. I've been working with the city for more than 20 years now. We appreciate the long-term relationship we've had with the city, but even more so, we appreciate the assistance that we receive from all of the staff at the city, very professional and capable, especially Tracy and Joel. So appreciate that. I think that's important for you to know from your auditors as well. I like to talk about three main things when I look at an audit report. Those are the auditor communications, some comments about your financials, financial condition, and then give you some ideas about what might be happening in the future. So for those of you who have listened to me before, I always like to start with the auditor's report. It's the page immediately after the table of contents, and it's on our letterhead. That signifies that it's the only thing in this phone book that belongs completely to us. I found it funny that I printed this thing off. We don't print too many things anymore. It's about 90 pages. One of our youngest staff members said, I said that looked like a phone book, and he didn't know what a phone book was. So just a couple key concepts here on the auditor's report. Like I said, you hired us to give an opinion on the financial statements, so that's what's important about this. A couple of concepts related to responsibility. You'll notice that there's a bold paragraph that says management's responsibility, another one that says auditor's responsibility. Ultimately, it's management's responsibility to prepare these financial statements. That includes internal controls, meaning the checks and balances over recording your transactions. Even though we prepared the document for management, it's ultimately their responsibility. It's our responsibility to express opinions on these financial statements. We did that on the second page. There's a heading called Opinions, where we say that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. That's known as an unqualified or clean opinion. Far too often in the media, I see that an auditor gave an unmodified or a clean opinion, so everything must be fine. And that's so far from the truth, because if you look at all 2,000 of the financial statements of all the governments in the state of Michigan, that opinion will read like this word for word. It's because it's a standard audit report provided by the Audit Standards Board. What you really want to know is how many corrections do we have to give management to enable us to give that unmodified opinion. We talk about that in another report that you'll find starting on page 73. Because you receive federal money, we have to do an audit report related to internal controls and compliance in accordance with government auditing standards. Not every Michigan government has to do that. It's because you receive federal money. In your case, you have loans and grants. The important thing here is to know that we didn't find any, or we found no compliance issues, but we found material audit adjustments that had to be made, and those are addressed on page 75. You'll see that there's an internal control deficiency. I won't go over these definitions of material weaknesses and significant deficiencies, really bad sounding terms that I didn't come up with. But anytime we have material audit adjustments, we have to tell you about those and put those in writing. What's interesting to me is you'll see the bullet points there. There's 5 of them. 2 of those, or actually 3 of those, are completely expected. The capitalization of asset acquisitions and depreciation, the city, as well as all but about 3 to 5 of our 120 governmental clients asked us to do depreciation and track that. The 2 adjustments that we had to make were the first one related to a receivable and related deferred inflow, which is a little bit complicated, related to a federal grant. And the 4th one related to one payable item. Staff here recorded all the payables in the correct period with one exception. So I think that's why I said there was one payable. And also because we prepared the financial statements, we expect to convert the fund basis data to the government-wide financial statements. So there are 5 adjustments. 2 of them are corrections of errors. That's much fewer than I see with most governments that I work with. Sometimes that list of bullet points is 24. So staff did a very nice job here and probably fewer adjustments than we've seen in previous years. So that's a good thing. Looking at the financial statements, I'll guide you to page 15. Page 15 is a balance sheet for the governmental funds. It's a picture at a point in time, if you will, of your financial condition. The primary question that I often receive from council members is, what's a good fund balance? What should we have? If you look at the column to the left for the general fund, if you look at the 3rd number from the bottom in that column, it's $3.2 million. That's known as unassigned fund balance. It's really what you have available to spend. I look at that in relationship to your current year expenditures and transfers. If you do the math, it's 66% of those. I would say that if you're between 25 and 50%, meaning 3 to 6 months worth of expenses set aside in a fund balance or an emergency account, if you will, a good financial advisor would tell an individual if you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses set aside, you're in a good position. You have more than that, 66%. The typical city in the state is somewhere between 10 and 20%. So that's a very good place to be. What really stood out to me was the major and local street funds have $878,000 in fund balance in major street, $528,000 in local street. That's much higher than I see in most cities. That's a good thing. Most cities spend all of their local street money. Some of that money comes from your general fund, but those are very healthy positions to be in. And then, of course, if you go to the second part of that, the capital asset funds, you have almost $2.9 million in capital project funds, money available to you. Of course, the taxpayers have to approve that, but that's very unique. I don't know that I work with another city that has anything like that. So your governmental funds are in excellent shape. Governmental funds are presented separately from your business type activities. That's because the governmental funds get all their money from taxes and state shared revenue, that type of thing. So if you go over to page 19, then you have what's called a statement of net position for your proprietary funds. Proprietary funds are accounted for like a business, so we use full accrual accounting. All the long-term assets and liabilities are on these financial statements. It's also a picture at a point in time of these funds. There's really 3 funds here, your sewer and water activities, as well as the internal service fund, which is the motor pool. Again, if you go down to the bottom of the page, the second number from the bottom, actually the bottom of the page, if you look at total net position, that's the equity of those funds, if you will. So the sewer funds has over $10 million in equity, but that's because there's a lot of capital assets involved. What you really have available to spend is what we call unrestricted net position. That's the second number up. So the sewer fund has a little over 2 million. The water fund has 1.3 million. Won't bore you with the details, but I looked at those in relation to the operating expenses and debt service. The sewer fund is at about 69% of those costs, and the water fund is at 81%. That's much better than a lot of cities that I work with. Sometimes those are negative numbers, actually. So that means that you're setting rates to cover all or most of your costs. So you should all be complimented on that. One question that often gets asked about here is the defined benefit plan for your police department, police officers. That's on page 50. It's the best place to look for that information. Oops. That's why I put tabs on these pages so I can get to them quickly, but I missed that one. Well, I'm getting a little older and my eyesight's not so good, but there's far too many numbers on that piece of paper. I've learned that the average person can handle 6 numbers on a piece of paper, so that's far too many. But the column to the left represents the status of your defined benefit plan at the end of this fiscal year. Third number from the bottom again, that's the funding percentage, about 71%. Your net liability is just above that at $2.1 million. It's a positive trend in that the funding percentage has gone up just slightly over the last few years. I see plans that are far less funded than that, but 70% is a pretty good place. The difficulty is that you have to continue to fund that, and the discount rate continues to go down. So when they calculate the liability, it goes up. You'll see how the first subtotal on the page, it went from $6 million to 6.6, now to 7.2. So over the last few years, they've changed things, the actuaries have, so that the liability keeps increasing. But that's certainly not in a bad place to be. Just a couple other comments that I thought would be of use to you going forward. I mentioned that you have some federal money, some loans, and some grants. I would expect that you'll have a single audit every year in the future. I think Joel promised me that you're going to be spending a lot of federal money, and you should be congratulated on that too. Of all of our clients, you probably leverage federal money better than most people do. So you always have a lot of grants going on. Anytime you spend over $750,000 a year, you have to have what's called a single audit, and we do additional testing and reporting on how you use that money. Especially with ARPA money now, many governments in the state are going to be receiving that and maybe have a single audit for the first time, so it's going to be difficult for them. Some good news that you may or may not be familiar with is it's been really difficult to know how to spend those ARPA funds. There's a Senate, the United States Senate has passed a bill unanimously, that never happens, that is allowing you to spend that money on more things. It's going to be easier to spend it if it passes the House and gets through the whole process. But that's really good news. I think that they'll allow you to spend the money on things like roads. One other thing, you started a leasing program with Enterprise. Tracy and I will be working on that. The accounting requirements changed this fiscal year for all entities, really. So it's going to be a little more challenging to account for those leases. And I'll be working with Tracy. I'm sure she's looking forward to that. So that's interesting timing that you started it this year when it's probably the biggest accounting issue for governments in quite a number of years. It won't change how you do things, but the accounting will be a bit of a challenge for Tracy. So that's all I have, but I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. And I'm always available throughout the year if any of you have specific questions that relate to the audit or accounting issues.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, going on down to the next item on our agenda, it's the review of the November 2021 Revenue and Expenditure Report. Was there any questions on that? Everything, Tracy, did you have anything to say about it, or we appreciate you doing that?
I don't have anything to add really at this point.
Okay. Bill, Dave, any questions on that? Peter?
No, I didn't have any today.
Okay. The next item is the review of the city council agenda for the regular meeting. Was there anything on that we needed to change? Everything good on that? You guys good?
Yeah, I mean, I'll
Okay.
be providing the report from HDC. It's not an agenda item right now, and I don't know if we should add it or.
Oh, yeah, we probably should then, was the HDC.
That would be the appropriate process, so thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you amend the agenda to add HDC report,
Okay.
that'd be good. I believe
And that would-
Michaela passed out copies of the minutes.
Yes.
Got them? Good.
I think it would be
So that would be
5C.
11A2,
I think so. 11.8.1
after
is
the report
downtown.
from the Downtown Development Authority.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll get that added. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn the meeting until 7 o'clock for the regular meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm gonna screw it up. Michaela, will you please do a roll call for us?
Sure. Councilmember Zeter,
Here.
Councilmember Byrd, Councilmember Hands,
Present.
Councilmember Redding,
Here?
Councilmember Morgan. Mayor Pro Tem Galloway,
Here?
Mayor Andrus. Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you.
Can
Can we get a motion to excuse Delora Andrus, Mayor Andrus, and Roger Byrd, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. At this time, could we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For what? Oh, that's right. Okay, we did have a motion on the floor to excuse Delora and Roger, and we need to vote on that, please. Everybody in favor
Did they call in?
by saying aye? Yes, well, they let us know that they weren't going to be here, yes.
Okay.
There's no call-in, but, yes.
Well, they let somebody know then?
Yes, they emailed both Teresa and myself.
Okay.
So if I could get a motion, or I'm sorry, if we could vote on the motion, please, to everybody in favor, raise your hand by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. Passes. Okay, we need to, the next item is the approval of the agenda. 4A, approval of the regular council meeting agenda for December 13th of 2021. We will need a motion with an amendment to add 11A.2, the Historic District Report. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved to add 11A.2 Historic District Report.
Support.
Thank you. Everyone in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Next item is the approval of the minutes. 5A is the approval of the study session minutes from November 22nd, 2021, council meeting. Could I get a motion, please?
Support.
Okay, it was, could we get a vote, please? Everybody in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, no. Okay. 5B is the approval of the regular meeting minutes for November 22nd, 2021 council meeting. Could I get a motion, please?
I move that we accept those.
Support.
Thank you. It was moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in, same motion for no. Okay. Moving on down to written petitions and reports from special committees. We have a request from Village Market to utilize the Riverfront stage free of charge. Joel, you gonna take this one?
Yeah, just very quickly, as council knows, there's a fee schedule for using all city facilities. And when we have someone who would like to, request a different charge than what's in the fee schedule, we kindly ask them to come to city council and make that request. So staff doesn't get in the game of playing favorites or not playing favorites on certain requests. So they submitted a letter that was included in your packet. We have representatives from Village Market here tonight, so if they'd like to just come to the podium, council did see the written letter, so they're well aware of what's being asked of them.
Yes, council, I just would like to see if y'all would waive the fee for the park. We tried to do a ban and give that back to the community. The community has done so much for us, and we would just like to give back. Our concert's free to everyone. We bring in quality bands. The bands are vetted. The concert benefits local businesses downtown, and we're just asking to waive the fee for the park.
Okay. Bill, what would be needed for that? Are you going to need electric or lighting? What time of day is it going to be?
We would need lighting, yes, or electricity for
Okay.
the bands to be able to plug up.
Is it going to be an evening event then, or?
It's usually around, I think it was, 6 to 8, something like that.
Okay, so it would be an evening. Okay. Council, any questions for Bill?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, thank you for coming, and thank you too for your business being in town. I was very impressed when I first moved here to find a 24/7 grocery store, and I know that margins aren't really wonderful on grocery stores, so that's not an easy business to maintain. Yeah, this is a difficult topic for council. We've had a standard for starting to look at these fees differently for groups that are providing free concerts where the community benefits and folks come into town. So we've set a bit of a precedent for ourselves on this one. In general, I'm in favor of looking at least a reduced fee. I'm not sure where the rest of council is on this.
Parker, could you help us out maybe with, what is electric for the stage? What do we charge for that? Is it 25
That's correct.
per
Yeah.
hour or for the whole
Just per event.
event? Okay. Okay.
We'd be, we'd love to pay for that.
The electric.
Does anybody else have any questions or?
No, my questions were mostly answered, that it's open to the public, free to attend, community event, not a closed event or a specific type of event. Similar to all the concerts that we put on all summer, but this time we're not footing the bill for the bands and the people to come like we do in the summertime. So, there's that big advantage there in having that, not us paying for it and allowing additional use of it would bring additional people possibly into the downtown corridor. And I think that's a good thing. And it's not costing us anything, and if we're willing to just charge the electricity only, I'm open to that. I know we're been back and forth on this many times. I think we have to really look at this at our strategic planning, what type of standards we want to develop on this, so it stops coming up. I think we should just have some quote standards that city staff could use to determine this, and then that way it doesn't keep coming up. Update our forms to have things like if they're asking for a fee waiver or different, that they can just fill it out on the form. And it just streamlined this whole thing so it doesn't get so haphazard where we're back and forth on it. So I think that's definitely a topic for strategic planning come January, February.
Okay. Do we have a motion then to charge them for the use of the electric then, or?
I'll make a motion to reduce the fees to nothing other than the cost of the electric, which is $25 per our fee schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the city board commissions and area agencies. The first one, 11A.1, is a report from the Downtown Development Authority. Parker, you gonna handle this one for us?
Yeah, as Mayor Andrus is absent tonight, she was also absent for the Downtown Development Authority meeting. But we met as a group for the first time since September. We did not have a quorum in October or November, so we were thankful to have a group large enough to meet this month. As you know, you appointed Steve Tibbetts to the DDA at your last council meeting, so he joined us for his first. It was great to have him on board. And what we did as a group was largely review the downtown streetscape improvement project, caught the board up to speed. We had 2 public meetings in October on this topic. So we reviewed how those meetings went with the DDA. Some of them were in attendance at those meetings, some were not. Just kind of had a deeper dive into that conversation, reviewed the PowerPoint presentation that was shared at that public meeting at the time, as well as go over some of the conceptual plans for the streetscape improvement. And then we wrapped up the meeting with a little bit of a homework assignment, having the DDA members go home and come up with a list of, ideas, big plans, small plans, things they want to implement within the next fiscal year that we'll compile together, like we did for the Public Spaces Commission, and have ready for you guys at your strategic planning meeting in January, February.
Nice. Okay.
Just one question. Did the realignment come up at all when you're looking at this downtown streetscape, or?
It did not, actually. No, I know that the board talked at their last meeting in September about that topic, but it did not come up at this meeting.
Okay, didn't know.
Okay, thank you, Parker. Next on the agenda is 11A.2, the Historic District Committee report. Dave?
Yeah, so the commission reviewed 3 applications. One was there's a business that'll be coming into the basement level of the building across the street there, a comic book store, and they were looking to hang a sign. But the sign generally met the requirements of the HDC, was in line with guidelines, so we approved that. Robinson House, I believe it is, on the Marshall Street, is that correct? The old manor there, they had added a deck in an earlier renovation. They needed approval to put vinyl coverings on the corner posts of that deck. So we went ahead and approved that. That's a deck on the back of the building, so it's not facing the street. Again, in line with internal standards. And then the third application was to add solar panels to a house that's on the corner of Cutler and Cedar. Would be the house that's got the big columns on the front, a brown roof. There's not actually anything in our guidelines that speak to solar panels on homes in our historic district guidelines for Allegan, but the State Historic Preservation Office has some guidelines, so we were able to align with those on that installation. So we approved the solar panels on that house. We also talked about a study committee for the HDC, and I laid out an outline for that study committee, and that's included in the minutes. It's a very brief table that talks about 3 phases for the project. In terms of the overall arc of it, it would be that today we've got opinions, feelings, anecdotes that are driving the conversation. So the first phase of the project would be to define what are among those things that are adding value to either the community or the homeowners, things that are causing problems for either the community or the homeowners, and identifying customers for the HDC, which is an interesting one in that homeowners are likely customers, communities could be customers, but like State Historic Preservation Office is likely not a customer of our HDC. So it's people that we would be providing value to. And then also, what are the requirements of an HDC? That would be phase 1. Phase 2 would then be gathering information we need to make sure we understand how much value something is adding, how much of a problem it's causing, how those things are aligning to our customers. And then the third phase would be compiling all that information into a report that's in a narrative form so we can bring it back to council and say, here's what we're doing with the HDC today, here's what we see as value added, here's what we see as problems, and make sure that we all understand the problem the same way, HDC, council, the community. That gives folks a chance to give their input on specific items that are factual, evidence-based. And then from there, finally, that's when we would talk about a solution, but that solution discussion would be outside of that study group's scope. So the study group is focused on creating this report, making sure we all are in agreement on things as far as where they stand today. Then that study committee would conclude and we would start to talk about what we can do with that information and solutions from there. Everyone in the HDC that was present agreed that was a good approach. They were all comfortable with it. I said we would spend 2 to 4 meetings in each phase of that, so it would be a 6 to 12 month project. I'm happy to update council as regularly as you all are interested. I would probably give an update, if not prompted otherwise, at the conclusion of each phase to make sure that we're tracking along with what folks are looking for. I've been calling the other members who were not present to make sure they're on board, but it seems like everybody on the HDC is comfortable with that direction at this point. Happy to answer any questions if there are. Otherwise, that's it.
My only question originally was it's 6 to 12 months, and you already answered that, so.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Moving on down to the Finance Department, 11B.1, request to approve accounts payable and payroll. And I will take this. We had accounts payable in the amount of $418,409.39. Payroll in the amount of $174,196.07, for a total disbursement of $592,605.46. I make a motion to approve them, please.
Support?
Okay. Motion has been made and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is a request to approve the fourth quarter budget adjustment report. Looks like Tracy's going to take this for us.
Did you want to say anything first, Joel, or?
No.
Okay. Some of you might remember that pre-June 30, we brought to council to give me permission to make the fourth quarter budget adjustments. Normally, I'm asking you guys to accept them and approve the budget adjustments, but I've already done those. This is just the report showing you the adjustments that were made and the results that were after the audit, and, you know, these numbers should match what's in the audit, and I just got those reports done when we got the audit reports back, and other than that, if you guys have any questions on anything, any specific line item, I can go over it, but that's pretty much it.
Anybody have anything for Tracy? Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Yep.
Could we get a motion to approve the fourth quarter budget adjustment report?
I so move.
Support?
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Next is 11D, water utilities. 11D1, request to adopt resolution 21.3, approving the Allegan water utility policy. Joel, are you gonna, or Doug, take this?
Doug's gonna handle it.
Okay.
The water utility policy was updated, rewritten based on the water and sewer ordinances that were updated and council approved and adopted on October 25. The water policy council was able to review in a draft form in the study session on September 27. Couple items I would like to just bring to your attention that are in the policy are the detail of the RTS charges. Those are in section 1-10, letter C. Kind of defines when and where RTS charges are charged or not charged. That is a change from what the old policy was written. Section 2.4, which is sprinkler account billing. This is one section that was discussed where sprinkler accounts that are tapped off of the existing service to the residents, or on the resident's main service line, that they were currently charged an RTS for that second line. The policy will now be that there will be no RTS charge for that sprinkler line unless it is a separate service coming off the main to that sprinkler system. And then finally, the other major change to the water policy is section 4-2, the sewer discount. Used to be referred to as the sprinkler discount, where residents were given a discount on their sewer portion of the bill during the summertime. In discussions with council during budgeting period last year, it was discussed about removing that, changing it. Consensus was to remove it. What is still in place is if there is a large water usage, such as filling a swimming pool, filling a pond, if the resident can show that that water was used for that and estimate how much water was used, the city will discount the sewer for that usage. So those are the major changes to the water policy. Are there any questions?
I have a couple, Doug.
Absolutely.
How often do we rewrite these policies? Anytime there's a change, or?
So, yes, if there's a change to the water sewer ordinance that affects the water policy, then that should be updated in the water policy also. If there's something that either staff notices or council notices that should be done differently, I mean, the policy is basically how staff operates, and there's language in here how we charge the customers, how we bill the customers. So if there's something that needs to be updated, it can be updated, changed at that point.
Okay, the reason I ask is we put the price in here for the hauling.
Yes.
.0625.
In the septic part of it, yes.
Yep. So we put that in here. So every time if we have a rate change, we have to rewrite this?
Yes.
Why would we include that?
That is one thing that the Eagle, the state requires in, that part of the policy is called the septic operational plan. So they require that the price be put in the operational plan, and anytime the operational plan is updated, the state has to be notified of it. So that's why the cost is in the plan, or in the policy, which is also in the septic operational plan.
Okay, all right. Then something else, and unless it's in here, Doug, and I missed it. We had talked about the cost of trucks loading from the hydrants.
That
Is that something separate?
That is something separate.
Okay.
So in the budget document itself, under, help me, Tracy, the fee schedule pages.
Yes.
Under water utility, under water services, you'll see hydrant, an annual fee that the truckers have to pay, and then the cost per gallon that they pay.
Okay,
And we have a hydrant set up in the industrial park with a meter on it, and whoever signs up for the service can access it, and then it tracks how much each tanker fills, and then we bill them monthly on that.
okay, because I thought I had read something in here about hydrants. And that's why I was curious why the
Yep.
bulk haulers weren't on here.
In the water policy, with the exception of the septic fees, we try not to put any costs in here so that they can be updated in the budget rather than this document.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Okay. So, thank you, Doug. could we get a motion to approve Resolution 21.3, please?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, it has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Public Works, 11E.1, request to adopt Resolution 21.32, approve changes to consumers contract.
The city has a
The other
streetlight
Doug.
agreement with Consumers Energy to install, repair, or remove streetlights in the city. We were approached recently about the possibility of taking those down on the east side of the Regent Theater in the alley, mainly because we have some string lights in that area that we feel lighted up pretty good. So we contacted consumers, asking what they would charge to do that work. They sent us back this quote of $1,432. I guess if y'all are okay to it, we'll go ahead and sign it and have the work done. Joel or Parker, going to add to it, or?
Yeah, the reason we're bringing this to council tonight is we just, like Doug mentioned, we feel like it's kind of overkill on the lights we have back there. Also, we pay a monthly maintenance fee for those two Cobra lights, which you see on the screen behind you. And there's enough lighting between the string lights, and there's a third Cobra light a little bit further south along that walkway that lights up that area. And, you know, trying to reduce that monthly fee is a good thing. Trying to reduce, you know, electric consumption, I think, is a good thing. So we reached out to consumers, and, you know, we kind of want to see where council feels on something like this.
So are you guys thinking they cost us a lot of money a month? Is that why we need to get rid of them, or why we want to get rid of them? Is that?
Overkill.
Overkill is the main reason, and there will be a savings. It's like $10, we pay per month for those kind of, these lights to go up.
10 per unit, if I'm not
10
mistaken.
per unit. So 20, so eventually, the upfront cost of removing it, we save, over, 2-year period. But it is the overkill. And I was the one that noticed it one night, walking home. And I said, wow, why are those lights above these lights? It didn't make much sense to me.
So we'd have, of course, maintain those lights as part of this because we no longer have street lights there that they're maintaining. So we got to maintain those string lights and also power them. I'm assuming those are powered from the Regent?
Yeah, on the photo cell on the backside of the Regent.
So we're paying it on the Regent's electric, but it's just something to think. You do have to put aside a little bit that eventually we will have to replace those because they don't last forever, those string lights or bulbs or just upkeep.
And people do knock them with their umbrellas or something, and once in a while we have to, replace one because it's broken.
Are those LED or incandescent?
The string lights are LED.
Okay. I just want lights over there because that's dark.
We do have a request into consumers talking about, lights over there and, what the process can be.
Yeah, in fact, on that one, I just got an email, I believe it's for the same application package, install a light over near it'd be on the north side of Bubba's drive entrance.
Yeah, that side's,
Yeah, but
it's mostly this side here between the
By your
two.
vehicle and my vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking to Country House Furniture about doing a wall pack light temporarily on that building until our streetscape lighting comes in. So,
Okay, any more questions for Doug about the removing of those lights? Okay, if I could get a motion to adopt Resolution 21.32.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, it has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks,
you.
Doug. Okay, 11F is the city manager and city clerk. 11F1, request to adopt resolution 2131, establish uniform transfer provisions. Tracy?
Okay, this has come up from MERS and the recent changes and things that have happened with, back in, was it 2020 that we did the union contract with the police officers where all of our new police officers will be getting the defined contribution instead of the defined benefit. We didn't think we would have to do this for like 5 years until one of the employees retired. And since Brian decided to retire, and we replaced him with the new employee who started December 6th or something like that, we have to close the divisions for our defined benefit people, open the defined contribution. Then the discussion came up with Brian leaving, and we're going to promote from within to the sergeant position. We wanted to make sure that that person can go into that division with the command officers or the sergeants. So this form or resolution allows people who are in the current defined benefit to transfer up if promoted. And then it's closed to all new hires, but you can promote from within. But we need this approved to be able to allow the new person that we're going to be promoting to sergeant eventually, I think in January sometime, to be able to go into the command division versus the police officers division. Clear as mud. Do you guys have any questions on that?
Got it.
It makes sense to me. It's,
Yeah, it's pretty rocket
Yep.
science. Yeah.
Yep.
Any questions?
The only other thing
Good
that.
job, Tracy. They said it's clear.
Yeah, the only thing that I can add to that is the only difference between the police officers, with all the changes that Joel and I've made over the last couple of years with the defined benefit, the only difference between police and command is the RS 50, which is the,
Spousal benefit.
yes. So that's the only difference, and it's really not that expensive of a thing, so, and it's just one little perk for the promotion. Makes our lives easier administratively.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Okay, so could we get a motion to adopt Resolution 21.31, establish uniform transfer provisions?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 21.31.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Board appointments. 12A.1, appointment of Betty McDaniel to the Board of Reviews with a term set to expire on December 31, 2023. Joel?
All right, with Bill Morgan being elected to city council, that made some openings on our board of review that we have to get addressed tonight because they have a first meeting tomorrow. So,
And
city
it's going to
council.
take 2 women to replace him?
Yep. We had an existing vacancy on the board to begin with. I want to be very clear.
Okay,
Yeah, we had an
okay.
existing vacancy on that board. So, yeah. So we're asking council tonight to appoint Betty McDaniel and appoint Becky. It has to be 2 separate motions.
Right.
I'm very thankful for staff last week, working very hard to find 2 appointments, and I realized we had a meeting coming up this week. That's all we have.
Okay. Can we get a motion, please?
I so move that we,
Appoint Betty McDaniel first.
yep, and Becky Rininger.
Okay.
I'll support the Betty McDaniel motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a support. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. 12A.2, appointment of Becky Rininger to the Board of Reviews with a term set to expire on December 31st, 2024. Could I get a motion, please?
I so move.
I'll support.
All right, it has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I think I skipped over public comment. If we have anybody in the audience who has any public comment, we could do that at this time. Okay, seeing none, we will move on down back to our agenda. Communications from city manager, council, and mayor. Won't be the mayor because she's not here, but Tracy, you want to start down there on the end? You got anything else you need to tell us?
I don't, I just hope everybody has a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays.
And do you, either one of you, Doug's got anything else you need to add?
I would just like to update council. Dan actually mentioned it in his audit review with the enterprise contract.
Can you come to the podium, please, so we can record you? Thank you.
I just wanted to update council on the enterprise contract. The city has taken one vehicle, one pickup, Ranger pickup for code enforcement into ownership or lease ownership. And we are expecting the 5 F-150 half-ton pickups, hopefully by the end of the year. We have noticed that they are at the local enterprise dealership and are being prepped for delivery to us. Once they are delivered to us, we will start, hopefully, when they bring those 5 to us, we will then have a few vehicles ready that we can send back with them to be sold off on their lot. So it's the start to the program.
And those F-150s are the police vehicles?
No. The F-150s, there will be 2 for water utilities and 3 for DPW.
Okay.
Police vehicles were actually, we just got some emails on them this week. There's been a little issues with ordering those vehicles.
What did they decide on ordering? The Explorers or?
No, they decided to go with the F-150, they're called responders.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
okay. All right, okay.
so.
Is this going to do anything to like the turn, how about getting them at different times? Is that going to affect our schedule for returning and all of that?
No,
for-
because we return them as they bring the new vehicles to us, we can return our old vehicles. So, to me, I guess my view of it, it benefits us that we're not paying the full contract up front. So as we get the vehicles, we only pay on the vehicles that we receive. So we had scheduled the full amount for this year in our budget. Right now, we're halfway through the budget season, or just about, and we only have one vehicle. So there is a cost savings there. The downside is we don't have new vehicles yet.
So, Teresa, we have individual leases for each vehicle. So we don't have one contract for all 22 vehicles. They're an actual individual lease. So as they come in, that's when the lease starts with that vehicle.
Okay. I just thought we had some vehicles we were going to keep for 2 years, some for 4 years, some 5, 7,
And
whatever.
as those come in.
The
And
lease
so,
vehicles.
Is that going to affect that?
No.
Like,
It shouldn't,
okay.
because that timeframe starts when we receive them. I mean, ideally, yes, up front we thought, hey, we're gonna get 20 vehicles in, a matter of a week or two, all being delivered to us. Because of production from the manufacturer is not a smooth process right now. Some vehicles get manufactured before other ones. So we are getting, the F-150s first. The 250s will follow sometime, hopefully by spring of next year.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Doug, for
Yep,
the
and then
update.
I just wanted to wish council a Merry Christmas.
Same
also.
to you, thank you. How about the other Doug? Yeah.
Just one quick item. Normally, we quit leaf pickup the end of November. The weather's good enough this week, we're gonna be out picking up leaves again with one unit citywide, probably at least do Wednesday, maybe into Thursday.
Okay.
Depends on what, so,
Did we get our salt truck back?
what?
Our salt truck back? Did we get that fixed? We had one out at K&M or
K&R, no, that one's still out there, they're waiting
Oh,
on parts. They don't
Oh.
know, they can't give us an ETA on when the part's gonna
Yeah.
come in,
Okay, all right,
so
yeah,
we have good weather.
right. Okay, good, thank you, Doug. Michaela, do you have anything? Parker?
Yeah, I just wanted to give my thanks to the council members that were at the parade on the 3rd, as well as our constable and his participation in the parade. It was a great turnout. It exceeded our expectation for attendees of parade watching. We had about 20 entries, which is, I think, the smallest parade that we've overseen in the last, this was the 4th or 5th that we've done. But all of the entries that we did have were all lit up and put in their full effort into it. So it's one of our favorite parades. We really enjoyed that one. So
Yeah,
thank you again.
I would like to commend the DPW on that. I understand there was quite a few that decorated their vehicles, and
Yeah.
you know, that was
The
really
Public Works
nice.
and the water utilities guys do a knockout job.
And
They
we,
enjoy that.
we had an awesome driver of the green bug too, I might add, that we told him he was a little bit smoother than our normal one. so.
We'll remember that next year. If you find a replacement, I'll gladly step down.
I think Jeff enjoyed it, so.
He does. He's excited.
Joel, do you have anything else to add, Joel?
Just real quick, it's good to be back, and I want to thank my staff for running City Hall and the city so smoothly. I found out this morning I'm really not needed. I met with all the departments, and they said, went smooth, so I'm already planning my next year's vacation somewhere fun, so.
Good, good. Well, that is nice to hear that you have that good backup, so, good. Bill?
Nothing special from me. Welcome home, Joel. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Nothing
Dave?
for me.
Nothing, okay. Mike, do you have anything?
I do on, I believe it was Saturday, maybe it was Sunday morning. I was down at On the Grid, and the place was just packed. They have not seen it that full in a long time, so I'm glad that residents are getting out and enjoying some of the things that we offer here in town. It just made me happy to see that many people patron an establishment. What a great day for them. So, and Merry Christmas to all the other council members and the city workers.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Peter?
I have two things. I think I forgot something in pre-session. Monroe and North Cedar, there's a telephone pole. And have you guys all been alerted to that already?
Yeah, what happened there?
It's leaning up against another pole and just wondering if we got to take care of it or
Did somebody go
consumers.
through that picket fence?
Somebody hit it over a weekend, I think it was. We found out about it and we contacted, and I forget what company it is, Frontier. They said they're working, they do have it lashed one to another so that they feel it's safe.
Yes.
They were gonna try and get it out yet this week.
Okay,
That
sounds
was their
good.
goal.
Okay.
That sounds good. And then just one note for the parade route that I would love if we can look at in the future is knowing that this route comes this way and then turns. It would be nice if we had an area that we would designate at the beginning of the route or the end of the route that wouldn't be so loud for the fire trucks or things honking, blaring the horns for kids that really have sensory issues. Just so we can create like, hey, this is your safe area down here. After the fire trucks turn the corner and go down Locust, feel free to use the horn, but the beginning or the end, because I've noticed, we have a lot of disabled type and people with sensory issues and of course, really young kids. My kids never liked it when they were young. They just would cry and whine about it.
I guess I would have to say that's part of a parade, so.
Well, it's part, that's why I said if it's at a designated area, like, hey, this is the area, once we turn that corner, if you have issues, that's not where you want to sit. So it would be the
Okay.
beginning or end.
It'd be a little hard to organize, but,
But
all right. Okay, that's it? Okay. I noticed something that I forgot to bring up on the application of Betty and Becky's. It still says Chris Tapper's name. We need to replace him with Michaela.
Yes, I am in the process of
Okay,
going through
good.
all of our files and replacing
Okay.
necessary
all right,
names.
Good, okay. So you're on it. I should have known. Thank you. Just Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks for bearing with me through this. I told Delora when I got the message this morning that her and Joel had more faith in me than I did, but so thank you very much. And everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So, well, I guess I'll see you before New Year's, but be safe. Thank you. Going to adjourn the meeting at 7:45. Thank you.